Coaching in Session.
Your exclusive destination for unparalleled personal and professional growth.
With your host, Michael Rearden.
Whether you choose to live within limits or break free, your mindset journey begins here.
I think of where many people are in their life today. It's going to be maybe not exactly where they will like to be. Most people will like a different situation or circumstance. Maybe they want more money. Maybe they want better love or better relationships. Maybe they just want to be appreciated more because the people around them don't see their worth, or maybe even their potential. However, when we are in these situations, sometimes we develop a numbness to it. We develop a mindset that we take ownership of where we are. Now, this ownership is not something you want. I can't imagine many people, they want to inherit maybe an insane asylum or a piece of land that is swampy. Yeah, sure, you got some land, maybe you could sell it for a couple dollars. You have a building you can tear down for some resources, or you can use the land, but that is haunted or something. I mean, you can go down the road of the things that are wrong with it, and it could be better, but you could make the best out of it. But there is another side, and we don't inherit things, but we attain things. So at some point, we inherit our life, right, from our current situation, right? Because when we're young, we really can't fight the battles that we need to fight. We can't say, okay, I'm 6 months old. Let me go get a bottle because I'm hungry. Let me go outside because I want to play. Let me, take a bath because I'm dirty. We need someone to help us, right? And so we have our parents or someone who loves us or our guardian figure that's going to help us through those times. And eventually, at some point, we develop our own situation. We are adults, and maybe we fall into a 9 to 5. Maybe we fall into the corporate ladder scheme of work, or maybe we are just someone who wants to be carefree and kind of be a hippie on the road and just be a nomad, right? And we can be digital nomads and we can do remote work and travel the world. But the reality is, most people, they settle for the life that they have. At some point, you might have had the opportunity for something great. Maybe you took it, maybe you didn't. But there is a hidden cost that many people don't understand is happening. It's very similar to someone who is getting a credit card, right? They might say, oh, credit card, like I have all this money that I can use, but it's literally borrowed money and you have to pay an interest. So you say, let's say 20%. Let's say you buy something for $1,000 and you have a 20% interest and you don't pay it off that month. You have to pay $200 more. This might not seem like a big deal for some people, but for some people it can be everything, right? It can put them in a hole. Every single day could be, or every single month at least, can be that $200 hole because you're not taking action, right? Because you're thinking that you could just borrow the $1,000 versus let's figure out how we can attain this $1,000. And all of this is a metaphor for how people can get rid of a mindset that's just good enough. And the good enough mindset is going to be the conversation today. We have this article here, The Hidden Cost of Settling in Life, How to Break Free from the Good Enough Mindset. And it talks about how people become victims. And I can't stress this enough. Credit card debt is typically someone not understanding it, or people not understanding their situation or their lifestyle. And they fall into this and they become, in a sense, victims of the credit card company, right? So they have to spend all this money on their interest, not the principal. The same thing with their homes, right? You're paying for the first 8 years, if you get a 30-year mortgage or something along those lines, on interest. So you're not even paying down the principal of the home. People, they think they have to have a house. They think they have to have all of these nice cars or these nice clothes. And the reality is you get to choose exactly what you want in life. But most people, they just kind of settle for what is the norm or what they think is allotted for them. And I can't tell you how many people they fall into this idea of circumstance. They say, well, this is my circumstance. This is who I am. They don't develop any goals or any purpose that are going to help them move forward in life. We just have to give ourselves a simple mindset that good enough is not good enough, that we demand more. I want you to demand more out of life and yourself. And when you start to do that, imagine what can happen. Imagine the things that can be allotted for you. What would happen if we went to the buffet and I say you can only get 3 items instead of, hey, let's go to the buffet and you can get as much as you want? That can be life. You can get as much or as little as you want. You don't have to settle for 3 items. You can settle for as many items as you want. And this is the possibilities, right? We don't need just good enough. We're not capped at any point or anything in life. We get to choose. Now, we do have a set amount of time on this planet and in this life, and it's up to us if we want to use that time and utilize it properly for developing a purpose or fulfilling a mission or, reaching our destiny. All of these ideas and mindsets are basically saying we know that we can do more. We don't have to accept what was given to us. We get to choose what is ours. And so in this article here, once again, the hidden cost of settling in life, how to break free from a good enough mindset, is talking about how to break free from it, right? And become more responsible in how we operate in our days. And I have a 5-step process here, right? Number 1, radical honesty. 2, shift your standard. 3, commit to the movement. 4, surround yourself with growth. And 5, stop waiting for the right time. Now, all of these are going to be a proponent to how you can get out of this mindset. But we do have to look at the inception of this mindset before we can even begin to look at how we get rid of this mindset. Now, this mindset is a mindset that was given to us. It was not a mindset that we were born with. It's very similar to how we are born with only 2 fears. We are born with the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. We are not born with the fear of public speaking or the fear of snakes or spiders or the fear of heights, right? I guess maybe the fear of falling could be the fear of heights. But if you take a baby and you raise them up over the ledge, they're not going to be afraid of that ledge. If you drop them, they're going to start to feel fear, right? Because now their brain understands something is going on, something is wrong, and it can't protect itself because they don't have the ability to. So we know that we have gone from 2 fears to multiple fears. I'm afraid of rejection. I'm afraid of trying. I'm afraid of being ridiculed. I'm afraid of making a mistake. I mean, we can go down the list of fears that people have today that are irrelevant to the fears that they were born with. So at some point, they develop these fears. We have to ask ourselves, are we developing things that are beneficial to us? Now, of course, right? It is nice to have a fear of snakes if you're like, hey, I don't want to be bothering snakes anymore. But if you are a snake handler, do you think that fear of snakes is going to help you in your job? Now, there's a difference between the fear of something and then looking at something as being respectful to it, right? The trainers and the handlers of snakes, for example, they respect that snake. They don't fear that snake, right? They respect that snake for what it can potentially do. It can bite them, it can end their life. So they have to respect the snake and they have to treat that snake with respect. And they have to say, okay, I am aware of what this snake can do. Let me address it with respect. Now, I'm not saying you need to be nice to the snake and kiss it and stuff like that. It's just the idea of we respect what it is capable of and we are aware of what it's capable of. We're not afraid of what it's capable of because if I tell you to be afraid of humans, you might not say, well, like, why would I be afraid of human? I'm a human. But yeah, we can look at people who have murdered people, people who have harmed people who have, been in DUIs and have destroyed families. I mean, that's done by people, right? We can look at people who, write hate letters to, children in schools and bullying kids and things like that. That's not nice. It's not nice. It doesn't feel good. But that's human, right? So we're afraid of a snake or a spider that's more afraid of us than we are to the people that will backstab us with a smile. And so many people, they just kind of fall into this good enough mentality because they think their surroundings are safe. And safe is going to be subjective to you, right? Because you might not be in a nice neighborhood. Maybe, there's someone that you don't trust or something like that. So you don't feel safe and secure. Sure, right? We need to address that situation first. And if we can do that, then we can start to look at, all right, let's figure out everything that is us right now, where I am. And this is where we do the inventory of everything that is going right and everything that's going wrong. And this is number one, the step one, radical honesty. Like, I can't tell you how honest you have to be with yourself. And I mean, like, honest. If you're not showing up, why are you not showing up, right? It could be in anything. It could be in your business, your relationships, the gym, physical fitness, mindset, whatever it be. Why are you not showing up? What is going to be the thing that you're doing that's sabotaging your success? Is that simple. You have to be honest. I remember when I was being honest with myself for the first time. It was, I guess for lack of better words, an emotional journey. It was like, I can't believe that I'm doing this to myself. Because if someone did it to me, I would feel the same way. I would feel like, depressed. Like, whoa, like I can't believe this person betrayed me. Like, imagine if you're in a relationship and someone, sleeps with someone else. That's a betrayal right now. Basically, you are sleeping with failure. You are sleeping with good enough. You are sleeping with this quiet acceptance of your circumstance versus, success was right there, right? That bride, that groom, your ideal relationship, that success, that idea was there for you. And you're over here sleeping around with, these hobos and these, these, people who are not going to bring about anything for you, right? This idea is there, right? So you have to be honest. You have to ask yourself, why are you doing this? You're going to find so much about yourself, maybe find yourself almost debilitated by how much work you have to do. And when that happens, it's very simple, right? This is the easy fix here. You just have to say, what is the smallest step I can do that I will always do? And I'm going to do that consistently until I can add another step. It is that simple. Now, if you get a coach, right, you can reach out to us, revenconcepts.com. We can help you on those steps and on that journey. And when you're ready to make that next step, we do it together. But if you are a person that wants to do it yourself, let's figure that out too, right? You have to figure out what is the smallest step that you're going to take every single day or every single week or every single month or every single year that you are going to do with 100% probability. You're not going to sometimes do it. You are always going to do it. Yes, always going to do it. Whatever that is, right? Be honest with yourself. What can you do always? Well, we can always wake up, typically, right? Unless we're dead and we're not worried about any of the problems or progress we have to make. We're not worried about steps 2 to 5 anymore. But if we have life, right, we have the potential for growth. And we have to be honest what that growth means. Maybe there's something that needs to be changed, our diet, our lifestyle, the people we keep around us. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But we have to be very honest with what needs to be changed and what needs to have to happen. Then we look at number 2, right? We shift your standard. Now, the standard is going to be maybe you are, dating a bunch of, deadbeat people, right? Deadbeat guys or deadbeat girls. They are very toxic. They don't bring about anything good in your relationships or anything good in your life. You are going to raise the standard. You're going to say, you are going to raise the standard. You are going to say, I want a guy or a girl that's going to treat me well, right? That's the standard. You are not going to have someone who's belittling you every single day. You're just going to allow it. The same thing is true as you're not going to allow people to spit in your face and just say, they're spitting in my face again, right? You're going to get mad. You're going to get angry. You're going to detest it because you know that's not okay. So you need to raise your standard for the things that are not okay. Just because they're not spitting in your face figuratively doesn't mean they're not doing it mentally. Doesn't mean that you're not doing it to yourself. So you need to raise the standard for whatever that may be. Because maybe you're outside living in a box and you're like, this is the standard. No, that does not have to be the standard. That does not have to be the goal. You get to choose what your goal is going to be. You get to raise the bar or you get to remain at the same spot you are. Typically, people don't want to lower the bar. But again, different situations for different folks. So figure out that standard and begin to raise it. Then we get into 3, right? Commit to the movement. Now, this is going to be the most challenging part because most people, when they commit, they get a boost of motivation. I'm motivated. I want to do this, and maybe you do it for a period of time. But the issue is not that you are not going to do it for a period of time, but the fact that you're not is going to be consistent to it, right? You are not going to be consistent to do something long enough to see the results. Because if we are living in good enough right now, so let's say good enough. We have a 9 to 5 job. We're making $50,000 a year, and our bills are barely being paid, and we're not keeping up with inflation. We have no savings. So there's kind of a dire strait there, right? We know that things are going to start to fall apart in a couple of years if we don't make some changes. So even though it's good enough right now, like we're barely scraping by, it is not good enough, right? We give ourselves that mindset that it's not good enough. And this is not to say that we're not appreciative to what we have, but we are hungry for more. I think of what Les Brown says. He goes, "You got to be hungry. You got to be hungry." And the idea of hungry doesn't mean you are hungry. You always want to go to the buffet. It means that you have to want more. You have to want more. People who are hungry, they will eat until they're full. But if you're not hungry, you won't eat at all. And so what will happen is when you are hungry, the only thing left to eat are going to be the scraps that people left because all the hungry people got it first. And this is where so many people they fall victim to this mentality of the high achievers, the top 10 to 20% of people are, these like miraculous people and they need to give us some of their money. That is not the reality. The reality is you are not showing up in your day because you accepted good enough and they didn't. So you need to accept the most of yourself, not the least of yourself. Then we get into the idea of four, right? We surround ourselves with growth. This can be challenging, especially if you have people right now in your life that are accepting good enough, because it is difficult to kind of just uproot yourself. You know what happens to a tree if you try to relocate it? In the beginning, the leaves are going to kind of, be drooping a little bit while the roots are trying to acclimate and everything. But, at some point you can, regain your footing, right? That tree can regain its footing and it can begin to live and thrive again. But during a period of time, it might be sketchy. Like, am I going to make it? Am I going to keep on growing? Am I going to keep on flourishing? We had to move. We had to get, like uplift our roots. The uncertainty there can cause many people to say, like we can just kind of stay here and make the best of our situation. But not everyone in the world is going to want to get rid of their good enough mentality. Not everyone is going to want to change their circumstances. Not everyone's going to want to step into challenge and to fail so they can succeed eventually. Some people are just going to accept quietly the burdens of life that they were given versus the blessings that they can attain. If you surround yourself with people who are looking for goodness, that are hungry for more, that are motivated and or disciplined, then you are going to naturally fall into that as well. It's very similar to how if someone is sick next to you and they're coughing, coughing, coughing. Eventually, if you're not healthy or if they cough enough and they're not covering their mouth or whatever, you are going to get sick as well. This is not 100% guarantee that you'll get sick, but the probability goes up drastically. And the same thing is true with the probability of you being successful versus someone else not being successful if you hang around a bunch of deadbeats. Let's say you hang around a bunch of people who do drugs and drink alcohol and smoke, all day long. You might say, well, this is nice, even though like I want something different, but like everyone else is doing it, so it's okay for me to do it, right? So this is fine. But maybe there's one person in that crowd that says, I'm going to change. This could be more difficult to change, especially if you're a person that's committed to those friendships, right? Because at some point, the conversation is going to be like, hey, what's happening? Like, you changed. And the reality is, they stay the same. So that you can either stay the same or you can change. And I would rather you change into something better, to the better version of yourself or to what you can become, rather than just remaining where you are, right? And not changing. Most people who say this is good enough don't change. We need to change. We need to evolve if we want something good or better in our life. Then we get into our last step, right? We stop waiting for the right time. How many times you say you're going to do something at a certain date? I have a rule. If I say I'm going to do something, right? So maybe I'm supposed to do something like clean the house, right? I'm supposed to clean the house. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow, right? The house is dirty, right? There's toys everywhere, the dog hair everywhere, or something. And I might say, I'm going to do it tomorrow. You know what I would do? I would say, no, I'm going to do it today. I remember when I was living in my apartment still, I didn't have a house. One time it was like I had some dishes in the sink and it was like only like two dishes. And I have a rule for not leaving dishes in the sink before you go to bed, right? Because then there's more things that you have to think about in the morning, right? If you wake up and everything is clean, everything is good, you don't have to think about it. So I was like, it was like, I don't know, almost 12 o'clock at night. And I'm like in bed, ready to go to sleep. And I'm like, oh, wait, there's two dishes. I was like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And I said, I'm not going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to get up and I'm going to do those dishes today. You know what else I did? I vacuumed, I cleaned, I did everything that I shouldn't have been doing at 12 o'clock. But then I think of my mom. My mom's Puerto Rican. For some reason, Puerto Ricans like cleaning at night. And so I remember it was my mom just vacuuming at night and cleaning and, doing all these things at night. And you have to ask yourself, why don't you do it in the day? And now I can see like, hey, it is better to do the things when you don't maybe want to do them, or maybe they're not at the ideal time, but you set yourself up so much better for the next day. And so I think of that potential where we can, stop waiting for the right time for things and we start doing things now. So whatever that may be, maybe you need a new job. Maybe you need a new relationship, right? Don't wait for the right time. Don't wait until, after tax season or something, or don't wait for, a new relationship to come your way or a new job your way, right? Like we can try to give ourselves the best situation, the ideal situation for ourselves. But the reality is there can always be something better. I think of a house. You might have bought your dream house, but if you give it yourself long enough, eventually you're going to think of something else you want to have in your house. Maybe you wanted a sauna. Maybe you wanted to put a cold plunge, but I know they have the portable ones now. But maybe you wanted a built-in, right? You wanted a steam shower. Maybe you want an island in the kitchen. Maybe you want this big range oven or something like that. Maybe you want an outdoor kitchen, right? There's many things that you can want. Maybe you need more bedrooms, right? Your family's growing or something along those lines. We can give ourselves this idea of all the things that we would want even after having our dream home. Maybe we have our dream relationship, our dream guy or our dream girl, and all of a sudden, you know what? We found someone else and they're also great. And so you're like, whoa, look at this person. This person is great, or this person makes my person seem insignificant. We can wait for the right moment for love. We can wait for the right moment for family, but the reality is there is no right moment. We're always going to be thinking in the terms of it could be better. Now, this is all mindset work, but we do have to look at everything that we have talked about in a whole. Again, being honest with ourselves, looking at our standards and shifting them, committing to the movement and to the goals that we would like to accomplish, right? We surround ourselves with people who are going to help us with that goal. And then lastly, we stop waiting for the right time. This is going to be maybe the magic formula for most people. But even with all of these guideposts and all of these guidelines, it's not going to be 100% guaranteed, because there's a 50-50% chance that you are either going to do it or you're not going to do it. It's either or. Some people will step into this. Some people might go down the list and they might make it to number 3 or something like that, but then they surround themselves with the same people, the same habits, and sure enough, they fall into the same routines. And they look at the mindset of good enough as being, well, this is familiar, this is regular. And I can't tell you how many people they fall back into what's comfortable. I think of like when I was typing, like in typing class in high school. It feels so comfortable to look at the keyboard when you're typing. So you're, looking at the keyboard and you're like, okay, I see all my letters and things like that. But guess what? If you're trying to transcribe things or like, write things from another piece of paper, you better be looking at that piece of paper and your fingers need to be operating by themselves, because if you're going back and forth, it takes away so much time. And so the words per minute that you could possibly do, maybe like 112 or 120, is now going to be 60 or maybe 65, right? Insignificant. We need to see some level of growth and progress in our days. And if we are just going to operate on that low words per minute, that is going to be the mindset of how we are operating in our day. And so when we look at this article again, the hidden cost of settling in life, how to break free from the good enough mindset and then evolve into a mindset that doesn't accept just good enough, but so much more. Now, this is going to be a list of steps that you can take, and it's going to lead to a lot of mindsets, emotions that you have to be deliberate in your life today. It is not something where you can just say, all right, where am I looking at my life for being just good enough? Okay, I'm accepting my relationship for what it is. And maybe you're not having sex, or maybe you're not having communications and you're just roommates. Maybe your boss is, very mean to you and they don't give you raises. Maybe your kids don't want to talk to you and there's a lot of disrespect happening. You can just say, well, this is as good as it's going to be. Or you can say, man, let me fix this. I can't imagine if something is broken in your house and you just say, well, it still kind of works, right? But it could be so much better, right? Imagine if you had a freezer and it kind of kept things cool, right? No, you want ice cream to be, ice cream, not, like a creamy mess, right? You want something where it is exactly how it should be, not something that could possibly be better. So the ice cream should be the best ice cream you had ever. Not, oh man, like this is soupy ice cream. It's a soupy mess. It's kind of cool, it's kind of cold, but it's not what ice cream is. And that is what life can ultimately be. You can be living in a mess of life right now where it can still be kind of sweet, but it's not savory, where it's not the ideal life that you would like to be living. Because maybe you are in maybe a decent home, you have a decent job, but it could be better, right? Typically, it always can be better. And the only thing you have to do is give yourself of this mindset of your current situation is not your only situation, or it's not your final destination. You have to choose what's coming next. If you get rid of this mindset of good enough, or this mindset of, settling, then you are going to give yourself a new mindset, hopefully, of progress and potential and of advancement. All of these things are going to lead to what is next, what is capable. Typically, you're not going to just see a staircase and say, I would love to get to the top and not take the first step. You have to be a person that takes the first step. And if you are a person who's afraid to take the first step, for whatever reason it may be, and you need some help and you need some guidance, of course, you can reach out to us, revenconcepts.com. If you are a person that is self sufficient and just wants to read the blog, the link is right down below. Read the blog, follow it, commit to it. Don't let a date or don't let a certain circumstance set you apart or to backtrack you so far from the goal. And the goal is not to settle for less, but to never settle and to keep on pushing and to keep on advancing for more goodness and for more stuff in your life. There is no cap, there is no limit. It's all about what you set your mindset to and understanding that there is not going to be a limit on what you're capable of.